Thank you, Lucia. Thank you. Hello, everyone. And what I do is that I make small, medium enterprises data friendly. So I'm not a business development guy. I'm a data guy. And that's why we're here. Like, I think Excel is the best way to capture data, especially for things that are not like easy measurable as business development. Because when we try to, to deconstruct the word of business development, we found some that everything was different. Everyone was really complicated, specific. So it's a little bit like outside the normal conception of data, but everything should be measurable. And there's also like the quote, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. So I think that for business developers is foremost important to learn how to measure their day-to-day activities, their performance, and only if you can measure it in a proper way, then you can actually improve it. This is like the average dataset that I show as a bad dataset. Every company that I visit, there are these kind of datasets, right? And you can see that it's a bad dataset because the dates are in different columns, okay? Today, we will think a little bit more about the mindset and how to structure your dataset in order to make it readable and easily manageable from Excel, okay? Today, the main thing that you need to learn is what a field is. The field is a column that contains only data of a certain kind. So it should be all the same, all the same. So you can already see that this is not a field because inside this column, there are things that are not related to each other. There is the product code, there is the quantity line, there is the sales line. So if there are data inside a column that are not the same, this is not a field and the dataset is wrong. This is how you are supposed to structure this dataset to make it correct. We have the information about the date. So we will need a field that is called date. So we will have date here. As I told you, field is exactly a column. All information is the same. This then it's a correct dataset because then here I can put the date, I can put the product 356, I can put the quantity for January for that product. So I can put, let's say it's 0, but let's put it 1000, and I can put the sales number. So like, I don't know how many euros or whatever. As you will see, everything in Excel must be done throughout the pivot tables. Like everyone talks about the pivot tables because they are actually that important. But in order to use pivot tables correctly, you need to structure your dataset correctly. Otherwise, Excel doesn't work. So this is another thing that may I don't want to say upset you, but like confuse you a little bit, is that Excel works best when data are repeated. So if you don't see that in a dataset data are a little bit repeated, then something's wrong, something is bad. For instance, now, if I want to add a data about this product, but on February, I need to do exactly this. So it's 2021. I will repeat, as you can see, the product, and then I will put the new quantity and the new sales. And some of you might say, so why, dude, why do you make me repeat all the product? Like, I don't want to do it. Because, as I said, Excel works and thinks as a database. And a database doesn't care that much to repeat stuff, right? Like it's a computer, he doesn't care. Now, for instance, let's say that I want to add, I don't want to say quantities, sales, and let's say average time of, I don't know, of delivery. Here, it's going to be a problem because in every product, I need to add the line delivery time or whatever it is. If I need to add here delivery time, I will just type here delivery and it's done. Okay, so this is another point. If you're making something in Excel and it's really complicated to do, you're doing it wrong. Like Excel, it's done so that it's very easy for you to do the stuff. Okay, so we need to measure business development, right? So as you can see, the first thing is to structure my data set. And by this, I mean decide which fields, aka which columns, I need to measure and I need to fill. we need to find, the usual trade-off, as we like to see, between the amount of data that I want, because the more field that I have, the more information I will have, and the better will be my measurement and everything. But at the same time, like, someone has to type the data. So you need to understand it's relevant for you and what is not. You can start by like very easy stuff. So for instance, for now, like, there are the usual, that is date. Then, for instance, it depends on what you want to measure, but you need the specific, I would say, field, what you're selling, what the call to action that you have, the action that you need to measure. So let's make it one that is very, very, very simple. So let's say one that is product. We have channel. So for instance, if you're selling that product via Facebook or WhatsApp or email or whatever it is, and then we will have the call to action. So for instance, your actual activity, like the number of emails that you send. Like, how can you measure how effective you are in sending your emails? Okay, so let's say that here is outreach. We will have like the conversion rates. So from the outreach, if your funnel is different, feel free to use to think of the fields of the funnel that you need to measure, right? Like, if the sales, it's not the things that you measure, because maybe you're a partnership oriented BD, or maybe you're a marketing oriented BD, you can write here like number of improvement on the product, but there must be the actual outcome of your job. Let's register, okay, the first data line. Let's say that we have a specific product that you sell. Let's call it product X, okay? Maybe you have multiple products, different product that you're selling, like, I don't know, okay? Channel, let's say that today I worked on Facebook. How many messages have you sent on Facebook? This is the way to put it, okay? Let's put it 100. How many leads have you generated today? Here, I know that like leads usually come from the day before, today before. It's okay. I prefer to measure something that it's a little bit wrong than not to measure it. So let's say that today I had 10 leads. I did 5 calls with the leads, like can be like from leads from the previous day, don't care. And how many sales I did. Here, there's the first key point of the whole webinar. And it's like, even if you don't like work in BD, like this is the only secret, the golden rule of Excel. Transfer everything into a table, okay? So select one point in your data set, okay? The cursor, the cell must be one of your data set, okay? Then go on insert. It's on the tab above, and you click on tables, okay? It tells you like it selects automatically all the data. So if you have like 1,000 line of data, it will select all of them automatically. Be sure that you have checked my table as headers. Very important. Let's name our table here on the far left. Let's call it TB. Okay, data set. The TB at the beginning is very important. As you can see, like it will be of use later. So please put the TB. Please trust me for now, and then I will show you why. Then, okay, let's make it nice. Let's remove the grid lines. So on the tab above, let's remove the grid lines. Let's name our sheet. And I know that this seems stupid, but it's very important. The details are very important. And then let's make this sheet a little bit nicer with one trick that it's another trick that it's just outstanding, that it's the styles, okay? Let's select the first line, go on styles, okay? And you can select one of the accent. Let's call it data set, okay? Let's make it bold. Let's make it very nice. It's very important. Another important thing about tables, you can actually add a new field just by typing a word next to the table. Let's put here like the revenues. Okay, so here then we will see like how to create a price table and to multiply like sales of this product to get the revenues so that we don't have to worry about that. But another important point is to measure the cost of your activity, because it can be that you said you sold like 500 euros worth of goods, but the time that you spent doing the thing, it cost like 600 euros. And so it's not worth the effort. So here I won't put like a specific cost. I will just put hours, okay? That are your hours, the time that you took to do the 100 outreach. Let's say that this has been done in like 6 hours. Then we have like costs, okay? And how can we call it the profit? Okay, or let's call it result. It's better. Let's select all the table, take it down a couple of notches because I want to add something below. To select all the tables, just need to press Control A twice, because in the first Control A, you select all the data, and with the second Control A, you select all the table. Let's write here like euro per hour, okay? Because we want to let's say have this information outside from our formulas, and this is an important concept in Excel that is called dynamism. Like, your workbook should be dynamic. You should never have fixed data inside a formula. What do I mean by that? This is wrong. This is wrong because I'm using a fixed number inside a formula. Maybe you're using this constant for like 10,000 different formulas, and then at the very end they will tell you, no, it's actually not 15, it's 16. And then you need to change all your formulas all over again. So here, let's make it blue so that we know that this is an input cell, so where people can change stuff and so on. So here you should put how much it costs for you to work 1 hour of a day. Let's say that it's 40 euros per hour, okay? Here you will put also all the other stuff that are external. So all the costs, for instance, for the MailChimp of the situation, HubSpot, and so on, whatever tool you are using, you put outside of your formulas the costs. Because tomorrow HubSpot can call you and say, okay, it's going to cost 2 euros more per month, or whatever it is, and you need to change everything. Here, there's another concept, very important in Excel, that is called the, I think in English, it's denominated ranges. Basically, we can give a name to the cell. So this cell is now called C3. If I try to reference this cell in any other formula, it will be called C3. But I can give a more meaningful name to make my formulas more readable, to make it easier for me to search for that cell specific. So let's give this cell a name. We need to go next to the formula bar where it's C3. You should see the pop-up telling you that it's called name box. Left click should highlight everything. And let's give it a meaningful name. Let's say that it's hourly wage. Okay, you cannot put spaces inside the name. Okay, let's give it a go. And now we have our hourly wage cell. Why is that? Because now in our cost cell, let's go there. Let's put equal, because we want to have a formula. Click on the hours, and as you can see, this is the first magic of tables, that it's called structured references. Basically here, we don't have, it's not calling this J6, it's calling hours with an at the beginning, telling you that it's the hours of this line. Put the multiplier, and then what do we need to multiply our hours to get the total cost for the hourly wage? Let's type H, or whatever name you gave to your previous cell. And as you can see, our range, that our named range, name and ranges, we have it in our IntelliSense. This is just like amazing, right? Like now we have hours multiplied by hourly wage, and we have our cost. With F2, we can change from formula mode to, let's say, normal mode. and just click on the accounting number format or the one that you prefer the most. And so that we know that these are money. And results, let's make it an equal, and let's make it revenues, even if we don't have anything for now, minus costs. Okay, let's say that today we sold we sold 250 euros worth of stuff. If you have one day, it's very easy, right? Like I cost 300 euros to my company, and I made revenues for 250. Okay, I lost money, but in the long run, like in the year, are you actually making a contribution or not? Let's say this is like I want to say the worst thing about this format is that we need to repeat a lot of stuff. So for instance, let's say that I not only did 6 hours for Facebook, but today I also did, always for the product X, I did some outreach on LinkedIn. Let's say LinkedIn side, it's on a loss, but it's not like that big of a deal because we need to consider the day as a whole. But you are registering this because sometimes it's very easy to forget that it's not because it's hours, it's time, it's not money. For your company, they are paying you, so your time, it's money for them. My advice at the beginning is to register what you're comfortable with. Like if you say like, my goodness, registering every week, it's like a real struggle for me, I hate it, let's do the month. Like let's do month by month. It's okay, because then you'll start to liking it, say, oh my goodness, like I love at the beginning of, at the end of the day, having all the data and I can see what I did and what I did in the past. And so then like you'll start saying, I want it more precise. Let's do it week by week. And then you will start day by day and so on. Now, which is the other really powerful stuff about the tables, as I told you before, is that if tomorrow you say, you know what, I also want to register one of my colleagues, like one of my colleagues saw this data set and we actually work on the same stuff. So we want to see, we want to keep everything together, because this is another very important rule. Everything should be together. You should not have more than one file going around. But let's say that I want to have like a colleague that is registering and we register in different times. So we need another field. It's very easy. And so let's call it like person. These are all mine. Okay. And then like if Lucia, for instance, I will use you as an example, of course, like said, okay, I want also to register my sales. Okay, she will just write here. Let's imagine that this will go on for lines and lines and lines and rows, and you will get to the thousands and to the hundreds of thousands and so on. But for Excel is no problem at all. And now we will see how everything will like wrap up with our beloved pivot tables. Let's click on one point inside your table. Okay, it should be looking a little bit like this. And then we go on insert. We go on pivot table. And like this is already the first sign that Excel is telling you, okay, you're doing a nice job. Because usually like with the ranges, you need to tell Excel what's the range. If he's not taking it correctly here, he's telling you, okay, I see that you're using a table. Okay, let's put it in a new worksheet. Don't touch this one because this one is like Power Pivots, very for another webinar maybe. No, put it in a new worksheets. Okay, okay. Let's restructure the even this sheet. As you know, it's very fast. Here you have pivot tables, fields. As you see, someone already said this at the beginning of the webinar, right? Fields are very important because pivot tables thinks in fields. Okay, these are all the headers of my table. And here, this is like, it's very easy to do. You just need to drag them inside one of these boxes. Rows and columns are needed to give the levels of details that you want to see, and values are what you're trying to measure. Okay, let's make a quick example. So of course, like we want the person in column. We want to see what I did and what Lucia did on the different measures. But of course, like it can be the different products, it can be the different channels. whatever you want. Let's say that we want the dates in rows. Okay, so we have every day what happened. I want to see who did well and who didn't. And you can already see that someone did way better than someone else, right? From this moment on, we can keep on digging down on the data. Let's say that I want to understand, yes, but like why Alex did minus 70 on the 24th and Lucia did this well, what happened? And so first, if I have multiple products, I can say, okay, let's see if it's a product problem. Okay, so I'll just see, I drag the product down here, and here you have a product. So for instance, let's say that we had multiple products and we could see what happened for every product every day. Product actually didn't give us much of an information. Let's say that maybe the channel is the problem. Okay, actually, the channel may be a problem because Alex did kind of well on Facebook, but he did very, very bad on LinkedIn. If you want to customize one of the fields, you can go on the pivot table field. You can click on with the left button of your mouse, value field settings. This, like, you should do it always, because some of results is very unprofessional to see. So let's make it net results. Like, this is like another cool takeaway from the class that you can have. If you try to write result, it will give you an error because there's already a field called result. But if you still want to use the same name, just add a space after the name, and then Excel will say, okay, no worries. Okay, let's change the format, make it a currency, make it without decimals. We don't care. Okay, okay. So now we have it like nice and clean, and we can see that we're talking about money. You can change basically everything. You can change to show the grand totals, how you want to see the layout, the style. I will change it because format is very, very important. Last but not the least is to calculate your efficacy. Let's again create another pivot table. This is another like very best practice is to create multiple pivot tables, because then once you have your pivot table set and done, you never have to update it again. You never have to change anything again. You will just go on the data set, keep on filling all the data, then you go on pivot, right click, refresh, and it will automatically add the data if you need, change the numbers, change everything, and you already have all the measurements that you want. Let's go on insert table. Okay, it's telling me, okay, I get it. I want to create a pivot table. Let's go on the pivot chart. I usually don't suggest to create pivot tables next to one another, because, for instance, let's say that tomorrow a person will add, we have Alex, Lucia, and Marco, then this pivot table will go over the one next to each other. So I suggest that you create pivot tables like separate from each other, unless you are 100% sure that this workbook will just be used by me and Lucia. Let's say that again the date is usually very, very important. I can also add calculated fields, so something that I want to have calculated that is not on the original dataset. Let's select the table. Let's go on the Analyze tab. Okay, and here you have fields, item, and settings. Here we have calculated fields. And here it's like very useful to calculate all the efficiencies and the conversion rate and so on. So let's say that I want to understand like how many leads are generated for each outreach. So let's say that this is, let's call it lead conversion. And here you just do the, it's leads divided by the outreach. Because if I sent like 10,000 emails in 1 month, and got 100 leads, the conversion rate is 1%, right? So we have lead conversion, then we click add. Okay, here you can see that the lead conversion was created. And as you can see, I prefer to make this distinction between the fields and the calculated fields, because we have the fields that are all caps and the lead conversion that is in the camel format. So it's easier to differentiate between them. Okay, then let's make it just the last one. Let's say that I want to see the calls conversion. Okay, for now it's okay. As you can see, we have both. You should treat them as fields so that you can remove them, you can put them, and so on and so forth. Let's modify them. So we have value field settings. Let's call them lead conversion with a space. Sum it's okay, and number format is a percentage. And the same is for the calls conversion. For both days, we can have the specific conversion rate. And of course, like if we had more data, we could do like the month conversion rate, or the year conversion rate, or the like trimester conversion rate, or the week conversion rate. And especially, like, as you can see, we can see the person conversion rate, that it's very important. So let's see who did best. Like Lucia, did worse than me. Oh, nice. On the lead conversion, and we did the same on the calls. But actually, like we can see that I usually did worse, and then I had like a one lucky day that I did 17, and so like it bumped up my average. If there's one thing that I want you to take from this webinar, you need to change the way you think about registering data on Excel. It's not as we would like it to do. So it's not like on January I did 100, on February I did 200, because Excel cannot understand the data written in this manner. We need to write them as if we were in a database.